Picture this. You're celebrating your biggest achievement, and the person you trusted most is secretly hoping you fail. They smile at your face while plotting your downfall behind your back. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, wake up, because this is happening to you right now, and you don't even know it. What I'm about to share with you today will fundamentally change how you see every relationship in your life. By the end of this video, you'll have the psychological weapons that Niccolo Machiavelli himself used to navigate the treacherous waters of human relationships. You'll learn to identify the wolves in sheep's clothing before they devour your trust, your resources, and your peace of mind. But here's the disturbing truth that most people refuse to accept. Every single person in your life is wearing a mask. The question isn't whether people are being genuine with you, it's whether you're smart enough to see through their performance. Today, we're going to rip those masks off and expose the raw, ugly truth about human nature that Machiavelli discovered over 500 years ago. If you're ready to stop being naive and start protecting yourself from the psychological predators around you, then smash that like button right now, because we're about to dive deep into the dark arts of human psychology. Let me start with a story that will chill you to the bone. Machiavelli once observed a nobleman who was beloved by everyone. This man was generous, kind, always helping others, and seemed to be the perfect friend. But Machiavelli noticed something others missed. This seemingly perfect man only helped people when others were watching. He only showed kindness when it benefited his reputation. And when people were struggling and needed help the most, when no one else was around to see his actions, he was nowhere to be found. This is what Machiavelli called the performance of virtue. And here's the terrifying reality. Most of your so-called friends are giving you nothing but a performance. They've learned that appearing good is more valuable than actually being good. They've mastered the art of emotional manipulation so well that even you believe they care about you. But don't worry, I'm going to teach you exactly how to spot these imposters and separate them from the genuinely loyal people in your life. By the time we're done here, you'll have a psychological X-ray vision that can see straight through to people's true intentions. The first principle Machiavelli taught us is that human nature is fundamentally selfish. Now, before you get offended and click away, understand that this isn't pessimism, it's realism. Every person, including yourself, acts primarily out of self-interest. The difference between fake friends and real ones isn't whether they're selfish, it's how their selfish interests align with your well-being. A real friend has tied their own happiness and success to yours. When you win, they win. When you're hurt, they're hurt. Their self-interest includes your welfare because they've made you part of their inner circle. But a fake friend? Their self-interest is in competition with yours. They want what you have. They resent your success, and they'll use your trust against you the moment it serves their purpose. Here's your first psychological test to identify fake friends, and I call it the success mirror test. Pay very close attention to how people react when something genuinely good happens to you. Not just the polite congratulations they offer to your face, but their body language, their follow-up questions, and how they treat you in the days that follow your good news. A real friend will light up when you succeed. Their excitement will be genuine because your success doesn't threaten them, it inspires them. They'll ask follow-up questions because they're genuinely interested in your journey. They'll bring up your achievement to others because they're proud of you. But a fake friend will show micro-expressions of disappointment or frustration. They might offer congratulations, but it will feel hollow. They'll quickly change the subject or find ways to minimize your achievement. They might even share their own similar stories to redirect attention back to themselves. Watch for these signs, because they reveal the true contents of a person's heart. Now, let me share with you Machiavelli's most powerful insight about friendship. People reveal their true nature not in good times, but in times of crisis. When everything is going well, everyone can afford to be nice. But when resources are scarce, when pressure is high, when there's a real cost to loyalty, that's when you see who people really are. This brings us to what I call the crisis loyalty test. Observe how people behave when supporting you comes with a real price. When standing by your side might cost them something, when helping you might require them to sacrifice their own comfort or convenience. Real friends will pay that price without hesitation. Fake friends will suddenly become very busy, very unavailable, or very full of excuses. Machiavelli observed that most people are fair-weather friends. They'll stick around when the benefits outweigh the costs, but the moment that equation flips, they disappear faster than your motivation on a Monday morning. But the people who stay, the ones who show up when it's hard, when there's nothing in it for them, when supporting you might even hurt their own reputation, these are your real allies. Here's a disturbing psychological truth that most people never realize. Fake friends often work harder at the friendship than real ones do. They're constantly performing their loyalty because, deep down, they know it's not genuine. They'll send you the sweetest messages, remember every detail you tell them, and shower you with attention. But it's all calculated. They're building an emotional bank account with you that they plan to withdraw from later. Real friends, on the other hand, don't need to constantly prove their loyalty because it's authentic. They might not text you every day or remember every small detail, but when it matters, they're there. Their consistency comes from genuine care, not from strategic manipulation. This is why Machiavelli warned us to be suspicious of people who try too hard to win our trust. When someone is working overtime to convince you they're loyal, ask yourself why. What are they planning to ask from you? What do they need your trust for? Because genuine loyalty doesn't need to advertise itself. Now let me teach you about what Machiavelli called the mirror principle. People judge others by their own standards and assume others think the way they do. A generous person assumes others are generous. A selfish person assumes everyone is selfish. A manipulative person assumes everyone is trying to manipulate them. This means that the way people talk about others reveals their own character. Listen carefully to how your friends describe other people when those people aren't around. If they're constantly gossiping, criticizing, or finding fault with everyone else, that's exactly how they talk about you when you're not there. If they betray other people's secrets to you, they're definitely betraying your secrets to others. But here's the advanced psychological technique. Pay attention to how people describe human nature in general. Someone who constantly talks about how fake and untrustworthy people are is usually describing themselves. They're projecting their own mindset onto the world. Conversely, someone who generally assumes good intentions in others is likely operating from a place of genuine good intentions themselves. Let me share another one of Machiavelli's crucial insights. Fake friends reveal themselves through their relationship with your other relationships. A real friend wants you to have multiple strong relationships because they know that makes you happier and more successful. They'll encourage your other friendships and won't feel threatened by them. But a fake friend will try to isolate you. They'll subtly criticize your other friends, create drama between you and others, or demand exclusive access to your time and attention. They do this because they know their influence over you is stronger when you have fewer people to compare them to and fewer sources of support and perspective. Watch out for friends who always seem to have problems with your other friends, who create situations where you have to choose sides, or who get jealous when you spend time with other people. These are red flags indicating that their interest in you is possessive and manipulative, not genuinely caring. Here's a psychological test that will blow your mind. the absence test. Pay attention to what happens when you're not available to your friends for a while. Maybe you're busy with work, dealing with family issues, or just need some space. How do your friends react to your absence? Real friends will respect your boundaries and be there when you're ready to reconnect. They might check in on you occasionally to make sure you're okay, but they won't make your absence about them. Fake friends, however, will either bombard you with attention-seeking messages and guilt trips, or they'll completely disappear and move on to someone else who can better serve their needs at the moment. This test is so revealing because it shows you whether people value you as a person or just value what you do for them. If someone can't handle your temporary absence without drama or abandonment, they're not really your friend. They're just someone who uses you for emotional entertainment or personal benefit. Now, let's talk about one of the most sophisticated tactics fake friends use: emotional manipulation through vulnerability. They'll share very personal, intimate details about their lives with you early in the relationship. This creates a false sense of closeness and makes you feel special, like you're part of their inner circle. But here's the manipulation. They're not actually being vulnerable with you. They're using calculated vulnerability as a tool to make you feel obligated to reciprocate. Once you share your own intimate details, they have emotional leverage over you. They know your insecurities, your fears, your secrets, and they can use this information to control and manipulate you later. Real vulnerability builds over time through consistent trust and mutual respect. Fake vulnerability is used as a weapon to fast-track intimacy and create emotional dependency. Be very wary of people who share too much too fast, especially if they seem to be fishing for your own secrets in return. Machiavelli also taught us about the danger of people who position themselves as your protector or advisor. These individuals will often approach you when you're going through a difficult time, offering guidance and support. But they're not trying to help you become stronger and more independent. Instead, they want you to become dependent on their guidance and approval. They'll subtly undermine your confidence in your own judgment while positioning themselves as the wise voice you should always listen to. They'll give you advice that keeps you dependent on them rather than advice that empowers you to solve your own problems. Real friends want to see you become strong and independent. Fake friends want to see you become dependent and controllable. Here's a disturbing pattern you need to watch for. Fake friends will often create problems just so they can solve them for you. They'll stir up drama, create insecurity, or even sabotage other relationships in your life, then present themselves as your rescuer. This makes you grateful to them and dependent on their support, even though they created the problem in the first place. This is psychological manipulation at its finest, and it's more common than you might think. If you notice that certain people in your life always seem to be around when things go wrong, and that problems seem to follow them wherever they go, you might be dealing with someone who creates chaos to maintain control over others. Let me give you a powerful tool for identifying genuine friends: the growth test. Real friends celebrate your personal growth and development, even when it means you might outgrow them or need them less. They encourage you to pursue your dreams, develop new skills, and become the best version of yourself, even if it's inconvenient for them. Fake friends, however, will subtly discourage your growth. They'll make jokes about your ambitions, question your new interests, or try to pull you back into old patterns that keep you at their level. They do this because your growth threatens their sense of superiority or control over you. They need you to stay small so they can feel big. If someone in your life consistently discourages your positive changes or tries to sabotage your self-improvement efforts, they're not your friend. They're someone who benefits from your limitations and weaknesses. Now, here's one of Machiavelli's most profound insights about human relationships. Most people cannot handle the success of their equals. It's easy to celebrate the success of someone who was always above you, and it's easy to feel superior to someone who was always below you. But when someone at your level starts to rise above you, that's when jealousy and resentment really kick in. This is why childhood friends sometimes become your biggest enemies, why coworkers can turn toxic when you get promoted, and why people who were supportive when you were struggling suddenly become critical when you start succeeding. They didn't sign up to be the supporting character in your success story. Understanding this principle will help you identify who your real friends are during times of transition and growth in your life. The people who can celebrate your elevation without feeling diminished themselves. These are your true allies. Let me share with you the ultimate test of friendship that Machiavelli would have appreciated: the sacrifice test. This isn't about asking people to make huge sacrifices for you, because that would be manipulative. Instead, observe what people are willing to sacrifice naturally, without being asked. Do they sacrifice their comfort to spend time with you when you need them? Do they sacrifice their own spotlight to celebrate your achievements? Do they sacrifice their own interests to support your goals? Do they sacrifice their own resources to help you when you're in need? Real friends make these sacrifices naturally, because your well-being is part of their own happiness. Fake friends, however, keep a mental ledger of everything they do for you. They'll remind you of their sacrifices, use them as leverage in arguments, or expect immediate reciprocation for every kindness. Their generosity always comes with strings attached. Here's another crucial insight from Machiavelli. Be very careful of people who need you to be grateful to them. Real friends don't need gratitude as payment for their kindness, because their kindness comes from love, not from a desire to be owed something. But fake friends use your gratitude as a form of control. They want you to feel indebted to them, so they can cash in that debt later. If someone in your life constantly reminds you of what they've done for you, or if they get upset when you don't show enough appreciation for their actions, you're dealing with someone who sees kindness as an investment, not as a gift. Now, let's talk about the most dangerous type of fake friend: the energy vampire. These people don't want your money or your connections. They want your emotional energy. They feed off your attention, your sympathy, and your concern. They always have a crisis, always have drama, always need support, but they never seem to get better, despite all the help you give them. Machiavelli would have recognized these people immediately because they violate the principle of reciprocity. In healthy relationships, there's a natural give and take of support. Sometimes you need help, sometimes they need help, but over time it balances out. Energy vampires, however, are always taking and never giving. They drain your emotional resources while giving nothing valuable in return. These relationships are particularly dangerous because they masquerade as deep friendships. The energy vampire makes you feel needed and important, but they're slowly destroying your mental health and preventing you from investing your emotional energy in people who can actually reciprocate. Here's a psychological technique I want you to master: emotional boundary testing. Pay attention to how people react when you say no to them or when you're not available to meet their emotional needs. Real friends will respect your boundaries and understand that you have your own life and limitations. Fake friends will push back against your boundaries, make you feel guilty for having them, or punish you for not being constantly available. Someone who cannot accept your no gracefully is not your friend. They're someone who sees you as a resource to be exploited, rather than a person to be respected. Let me share with you one of the most sophisticated manipulation tactics that fake friends use: the comparison trap. They'll constantly compare you to other people, sometimes favorably, sometimes unfavorably, but always in a way that makes you seek their validation. They might say things like, "You're so much smarter than Sarah," or "I wish you were more confident like Mike." Der Fiets. This manipulation works by making their opinion the standard by which you measure yourself. Instead of developing your own internal sense of worth, you start depending on their approval and validation. Real friends help you develop confidence in yourself. Fake friends make you dependent on their opinion of you. Another crucial test is what I call the consistency test. Real friends are consistent in how they treat you regardless of who else is around, what mood they're in, or what they need from you at the moment. Their personality doesn't dramatically shift based on circumstances because their care for you is genuine and stable. Fake friends, however, are inconsistent. They might be incredibly sweet and attentive when they need something from you, but cold and distant when they don't. They might treat you wonderfully in private, but differently when other people are around. This inconsistency reveals that their treatment of you is strategic rather than authentic. Now, I want to address something that might be difficult to hear. You might be attracting fake friends because of your own behavior. If you constantly need validation, if you try to buy people's affection with gifts or favors, if you don't have strong boundaries, or if you're afraid to be alone, you're signaling to manipulative people that you're an easy target. Machiavelli understood that we often get the relationships we accept, not the relationships we deserve. If you want genuine friends, you need to become someone who values genuine friendship over convenient friendship. You need to be willing to have fewer friends if it means having better friends. This means learning to be comfortable with solitude, developing your own interests and self-worth, and being willing to walk away from relationships that don't serve you. When you stop desperately needing people's approval and start requiring their respect, you'll naturally attract more authentic relationships. Let me give you a practical strategy for implementing everything we've discussed: the gradual distance test. Instead of confronting people or making dramatic friendship breakups, gradually reduce your investment in questionable relationships and see what happens. Stop initiating contact and see if they reach out. Stop being available for their problems and see if they're still interested in you. Stop providing the benefits they've come to expect and see if they stick around. This test is incredibly revealing because it shows you who values you as a person versus who values what you do for them. The people who disappear when you stop giving were never really your friends anyway. The people who stay and continue to invest in the relationship, these are the ones worth keeping. Here's the most important psychological principle Machiavelli taught us about relationships. Judge people by their actions over time, not by their words or their intentions. Anyone can say they care about you. Anyone can have good intentions. But only real friends will consistently act in ways that support your well-being, even when it's inconvenient for them. Don't be fooled by grand gestures or eloquent declarations of loyalty. Instead, pay attention to the small, consistent actions that happen when nobody else is watching and when there's nothing to be gained from helping you. These are the true measures of friendship. As we wrap up this deep dive into Machiavellian psychology, I want you to remember that knowledge is only powerful if you use it. Don't just watch this video and forget about it. Start implementing these tests and observations in your real life. Start protecting yourself from emotional predators and investing more deeply in the people who have proven their loyalty. But here's the most important thing. As you become more discerning about friendship, don't become cynical about humanity. Yes, there are fake friends and manipulative people out there, but there are also genuinely good people who will enrich your life immeasurably. The goal isn't to trust no one, it's to trust the right people. Use Machiavelli's insights not to become cold and calculating, but to become wise and protected. Use this knowledge to build stronger, more authentic relationships with people who truly deserve your trust and investment. If this video has opened your eyes to the psychological dynamics in your own relationships, I want you to do 3 things right now. First, smash that like button to let me know this content is helping you. Second, subscribe and hit the notification bell because I'm going to continue teaching you advanced psychological principles that will transform how you navigate the world. And third, share this video with someone who needs to hear these truths, because knowledge this powerful shouldn't be kept to yourself. Remember, in a world full of people wearing masks, the person who can see through them holds all the power. You now have that power. Use it wisely, use it ethically, and use it to build the authentic, meaningful relationships you deserve. Until next time, stay sharp, stay aware, and never stop learning about the fascinating and complex world of human psychology. Your future self will thank you for the wisdom you're gaining today.